I do not want to sound like a broken record because at this point, myself along with many others in the NASCAR YouTube world have been very vocal that modern NASCAR broadcasting, well, some of the decisions that's been made in the production side just sucks anymore. Now, I am not talking about the broadcast commentators because in all honesty, I think what they do during races is fine, even Clint Boyer for all the goofiness that he brings along with it, but in a way I also feel like Fox has overstressed how goofy they want him to be. You know, we can talk all we want about these corny skits that don't really aid in anything for the race broadcast itself, and we can talk about the questionable overuse of close-up shots, bumper cams, and shots of random fans in the stands. And we can even discuss the fact that the producers are now forcing the commentary team to watch screens instead of the actual racing itself, which was proven to be very clear during the 2022 Daytona 500 when we, along with the commentary crew, did not even know that Harrison Burton had flipped until they finally showed the angle on the replay. And of course, we all miss the old days of the Speed Channel that had better weekend coverage, including amazing live, in-person fan engagement with Trackside Live and NASCAR Race Day, which included great journalistic video pieces before the race, as opposed to today's in-studio, overly scripted and polished NASCAR Race Day that is basically just their weekly NASCAR race-up show, but on the weekend. And then you had those segments like Put It Out, skits about watermelon seeds, two random guys in the desert pretending to be Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson, and Michael Waltrip's grid walk, but even that, as recently as Richmond, has been reduced to nothing like it once was. With all the problems that I can see as a longtime viewer of NASCAR television, I have perhaps the more unlikely hill to die on, and that's the simple nature of NASCAR Victory Lane. What's the point of it anymore? Let's face it, unless you were lucky enough to have some form of infield access, the majesty of Victory Lane is dead. Most drivers today probably dreamed of the excitement and energy of pulling into a NASCAR Victory Lane for the first time, and that's mainly due to the excitement and energy captured on camera. Let me just take a look at this scenario to start. The 1998 Daytona 500. Dale Earnhardt, after 20 years of trials and tribulation to finally win the Great American Race, finally accomplishes this. Instead of driving down pit road, being high-fived by every pit crew member in the sport before taking a celebratory donut in the grass, before parking it in Victory Lane for quite possibly one of the most emotional and memorable Victory Lane celebrations of all time, he's then told to park it at the start-finish line to be interviewed there. While this might have still been okay, it just would not have been the same as the emotions we got with him being greeted by so many and then coming out to celebrate with his crew. There's just something different about the feeling of coming out victorious and the world is there with you in this one place meant to celebrate. When the same topic was floating around NASCAR Twitter this week, his son, Dale Earnhardt Jr. was even in agreement, saying that he would have to agree that this does more for me than the often awkward front stretch interviews. The first thing a driver usually wants to do after taking the checkered flag is get to his crew to celebrate. It's a special moment. No offense to them, but if I just won a NASCAR race, specifically in the case of what we have seen 3 times already this season, a first win, I'm sorry, but I don't want to immediately talk to Jamie Little or Rutledge Wood. At least not on the start-finish line. I want to do a burnout, maybe get out and go get the checkered flag, especially if it's in the case of somebody like Kyle Busch who does the bow, somebody like Carl Edwards and Daniel Hemrick who do backflips after a win, or even old Austin Dillon who takes a celebratory slide in the grass. Or maybe if I'm not one of those guys, I might just reach out my window and have them give me the checkered flag for defense, and then I want to drive to Victory Lane and celebrate with my crew. I wasn't the only one to do this. They deserve to see me first. It's more than just the fact that going to Victory Lane doesn't mean the same anymore. It's also just the fact that by doing what they currently are trying to prioritize, interviews at the start-finish line, there's too many risks with that, and it's already been made clear. Another scenario to consider. When Jeff Gordon won at Talladega in 2004, he was pelted with beer by fans while doing his burnout. Imagine what would have happened if he was then expected to do an interview in that same place. What's he supposed to do? Hope they run out of trash to throw? Another Talladega scenario. Bubba Wallace won there due to rain. Looking back, this might have been a good thing, especially knowing how the crowd acted only a day earlier. I have heard from people who were there for that race that said the crowd definitely had a vocal minority of people who were not happy to see Bubba Wallace win that race. We aren't here to debate what you think of Bubba Wallace, so don't even start that in my comment section. You'll be gone in no time if you do that stuff. But it is well known that while a lot of people like Bubba, he'll always have a very loud vocal group who despise him. It's just not going to go away. So, what if he wins by crossing the finish line at first? I'm afraid that he would be received very poorly by a disrespectful crowd, hurling insults and vulgar terms, possibly even throwing things at him. To those who defend these interviews with, well, it gets them closer to the fans, let's put this in perspective. During COVID times, when there was no fans or very few fans at all, sure, this was kinda cool and made a little bit of sense, but now that we are back to normal, unless you are fortunate to be maybe less than 5% of fans who are close to the finish line, your view of them is very little, and it would be just as good for them to be in victory lane. Some may follow up with, so you're worried about less than 5% of fans causing problems? Well, the answer is, yes, I am, because they have already. Like I said, if Bubba Wallace had won at Talladega last fall and been interviewed at the start-finish line, I think the Xfinity crowd the day before showed us that they were less than capable of being trusted to behave. Let us not forget this. If NBC and Fox were not so keen to push on-track interviews in place, Brandon Brown's first win could be looked on forever in a positive light. It still can to a point, but you know it's going to be hard to. Instead, it's hurt him in a big way thanks to the term "Let's Go Brandon" being used in a negative light towards our current sitting president of the United States. If the NASCAR broadcast team would just do what we did for years, interviewing drivers in victory lane where it should be held, then they would have never been in a situation where the crowd was disrupting his post-race interview chanting "F Joe Biden." And they would not have tried to cover this up by saying the crowd was saying "Let's Go Brandon." And we would not be in a situation where a phrase that should be positive to anyone named Brandon now has a negative light. And the only people to blame for this is the NASCAR TV producers. In addition to this, they just do not even showcase victory lane like they used to. At this point, it should be no surprise that longtime sponsor Gatorade gave up their rights for this, because quite frankly, what's the point of sponsoring something that they'll rarely showcase anymore? This all started back in 2018 at Chicagoland with NBC, and while at the time it was actually enjoyed, especially with Kyle Busch giving that famous phrase,
"If you don't like that kind of racing, don't even watch."
But perhaps it has long overstayed its welcome. I've been watching NASCAR for a long time, and if they can give us anything that we used to have back, please, just give us victory lane back the way it's supposed to be. Last year at Nashville Superspeedway when Ryan Preece won, myself along with others legitimately got excited when he did a quick burnout and drove straight to victory lane as opposed to the on-track interview. It's weird that something so simple has been complicated. Most race fans, quite frankly, want to see that energy and excitement after a win with the frills of victory lane, with the Powerade, Coke, beer, whatever it may be flying around with confetti. I know my opinion doesn't matter much and I have no pulls with TV Network or NASCAR, but all I'm saying is, the majesty of NASCAR victory lane is simply dead to NASCAR fans now, and it's quite frankly the TV producer's fault. That's all I have for today. Let me know your thoughts down below. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like, and if you're new to DannyBTalks, be sure to subscribe for more great NASCAR content here on my channel. Until next time, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Bye guys. Hey race fans, thanks for watching this video from DannyBTalks. If you're new to my channel, please be sure to hit subscribe and click the notification bell so you never miss another video from my channel.